painful thing that Ibangase must, address with you.
Yes,
and we all agreed that he should be the one that will ask that question.
yes, Mr. President, in a similar event like this in the past, you remarked that stealing is not corruption. And this issue has generated a lot of controversy. Nigerians are worried. The social media, it becomes something that people talk about and they insult you about. Now, Mr. President, please, can you tell us, clarify what you meant by those statements?
My brother, thank you for asking. I think I had one or two persons, very senior persons, my politicians, who made that allegation. Oh, the president that says stealing is not corruption. But the good thing is that those who are making that statement, they have not told you that the president says stealing is good. How are we to tell Nigerians that I said stealing is good? But the president says stealing is not corruption. Luckily, they did not say the president said stealing is good. And you see, that is why the philosophers said that people disagree, because the primary reason for disagreement is that people use the same word to explain two different things, or use two different words to explain the same thing, so you get a communication gap. I made that statement because I quoted the former CGN, Mustafa. Because of these issues of corruption, I called a meeting. It's a creation of me, the executive, myself, the vice president, and the anti-graft agencies, ICPC, FCC, and the police. Then I asked the Senate President and the Deputy, the Speaker and the Deputy, then the Chief Justice of the Federation, the President of the Appeal Court, the Chief Justice of the Federal High Court, and for the state courts, we take one Chief Justice per zone, 6 of them. So look, both, though there is in the Constitution, there is no provision for the 3 arms of government to come together because of this separation of powers. But I say, look, the issue of corruption, if the 3 arms of government don't come together to tackle this corruption, the whole country is being humiliated. Everywhere you go, corruption, corruption, corruption. When the Chief Judge turned to speak, that was Justice Mustafa, he said that because of this corruption, he took most of the files that talked about corruption. And when he looked through the files, more than 80% of them are just stealing. They are cases of theft. But people use corruption to cover. What I'm saying is that if, for example, let's go to the Southwest and go to a typical community in the Southwest, and I look at you and say, this young man is corrupt. They will be looking at the young man. Say he's corrupt. They will look at him. But call that young man Ole and see what will happen to that young man. Call him Ole, that's thief. They will stone him to death. Our people hate thieves more than they hate corrupt. Now, I've been saying that sometimes we use corruption to cover lapses of government functionaries. Somebody who cannot do his work well, they say it's because of corruption. A thief should be called a thief. Ole should be called Ole and be treated as a thief. In the villages in those days when we are there, even if you're an adult and you steal goat or you steal a bunch of plantain or something, they naked you, they tie snail shells around your waist and flog you across the village, humiliate you and your family. But if you say this man is corrupt, some people don't even know what you're talking about. Apart from well-developed languages like the Hausa language, the Yoruba language, and the Igbo language, some of the smaller languages we speak don't even have the equivalent word for corruption. Ask people.
Semantics then.
Yes, if you ask some of these smaller languages, what is the equivalent of corruption, they will be giving you some descriptive statements. Because people don't even know this corruption. I said that you are even using the corruption to cover thieves. A thief should be called a thief. Ole should be called Ole and be given that Ole treatment. But I don't know what happened. People turn it upside down. Luckily, they have not told Nigerians that the president says it's good to steal. I have not said so. But we are saying that if somebody is a thief, it should be a thief. Don't use the word corruption to cover everything. Somebody who is incompetent, they say corruption. Somebody, if you thief, Ole is Ole and should be treated as Ole. I'm not saying people should
be disgraced.
Yes, I'm not saying people should be treated like it's done in the village. No, I'm not saying so. But the punishment for that, we should deal with that matter that way. But, well, maybe in the West, they use the word corruption to cover so many things, and sometimes people corruption. I'm telling you, just for example, 2 people should come, go to a typical Southwest, even in Lagos. One young man or young lady should come and say this person is corrupt. People will look at the person will walk away. But the day you say that this person is holy, or it will start stoning that person. So people feel more offended when they say you are a thief.
So let's use words that communicate the
So
message.
yes, so let us communicate properly. Let people know. That is. I quoted him. It's not me. It's not as if I said it. No, I quoted Mustafa. He's still alive. He's the one who said he examined all these corruption cases, and he said almost 80% of them are cases of just stealing and should be treated as yes.
Okay. It's not that stealing is
So,
not corruption.
yes.
Stealing
It's bad. It's worse. Let me say corruption, for example, in a society based on our own values. 2 unmarried men sleeping is corruption. But is that, can you compare that to stealing? So the word corruption, we have abused it, and it's no longer making so much sense. Except maybe talk about the country's corruption. But I think quoting Mustafa, I'm not the one. And even that day when I made that statement, I quoted Mustafa. I did not say stealing is not corruption. I said, but Mustafa, as a lawyer, I was the Chief Justice of the country. He said he studied, took time because of this corruption. Because I invited all of them for that meeting. So he decided to withdraw most of these cases about corruption, and he studied the cases. And he said that more than 70%, either they use the word 80 or 70, but I believe more than 70 or more than 80% are clear cases of stealing, and so they should be treated that way, not to be covered up under corruption. Even if you look at the 2 agencies we have the ICPC. ICPC is actually the only agency that is set to deal with corruption. Independent Corrupt Practices Commission. ICPC is the only agency that is set out to deal with pure corrupt practices. It's not even EFCC. EFCC is criminal cases bordering on economic issues. And the police will handle cases of stealing. You see, so when you try to cover everything, that means that ICPC is supposed to handle all these files, because that is the only agency set up by government that's supposed to deal with pure corruption issues. So I think people are confused. It's not actually my quotation. It's not actually my quotation. I quoted the Chief Justice of the Federation that time, but it is being used wrongly. But luckily, nobody has said, "Oh, the president said that stealing is good." There's no human being that will say stealing is good, because our people know a thief is somebody you don't want to come near you.
So are we identifying thieves in our society now? Of
course, yeah. Even if you talk about what the agencies are doing, within this period, I say so. And I said that it's better the chairman of EFCC himself should address the media. In terms of prosecuting people and convicting people, we have done more conviction within this period than before. But I always say that even if you convict 1 million people, it does not stop this stealing or corrupt practices.
What do you think will stop?
You must make sure that people don't steal. Don't put the money where people steal, like we've done in the fertilizer procurement. If you leave a goat and a yam or a plantain together, the goat will eat. What you have to do, if you want to make sure that the goat does not eat the yam, you must separate it. So that's what we are doing, that we must make sure that, luckily we have IT, now you are all digital people. With IT, you can do a number of things. That's why we removed the stealing that was taking place in the, I don't even want to say corruption, the stealing that was taking place in the fertilizer sector. Every year, the states and the federal governments spend a lot of money, and this people just
doesn't get to where it should.
Yes, they stole the money. Thieves should be called thieves. My brother.
So
thieves should be called thieves. Okay, and if you go to my village and talk about thieves, everybody, even the 90%, know who is a thief. When you say corruption, the man will look at you, does not know what you are talking about.
Anyway, Deji,